Photographers of old could easily pass as better storytellers when we did not have the luxury of having cameras that could capture different colors. You had to manually tell your stories. Photographers actually leveraged more on framing. They leveraged more on perspective. They leveraged more on different types of composition. So now having colors now in play, you now have an added advantage where you can now tell different emotions. What you see everywhere is that we have pictures that are very colorful, but then we have a decline in the use of several technical aspects of photography like framing, perspective, composition, and the rest. So we're going to be treating colors as they affect photography, videography, and all types of visual arts. We're going to be talking about colors in relation to photography and videography. Just a recap of our last class. Last class we established that colors is a vital part of all types of creative art. So whether you're a graphics designer, whether you're a photographer, you're a makeup artist, any kind of creative art that you are actually into, painting, whatever it is, you have to understand the importance of colors in making art, because you cannot separate colors from art, because colors in itself help you command different emotions and pass different messages to whoever is viewing it. So those emotions that are commanded helps you or aids in your storytelling. So it's almost impossible for you to actually tell a good story without being intentional about your coloring. So understanding colors will now help you to know the different types of colors and the colors that can be put together, colors that can't go together. Also helping you to understand the different emotions, that is the different messages of different colors. And the last class we emphasized on the different emotions, which is for red, we spoke about like red passing message of danger, of a stop sign, passing the message of being bold. For white we consider purity. White is clean. Yes, blue was royal, blue was also masculine, black was mysterious, dangerous, and all of those things. So we considered all of those. It now made us understand the importance of colors when trying to convey a certain kind of emotion when telling a story. So when you're telling a story, you have to use a particular color to aid that story. If not, you struggle in the storytelling. Not like you can't still tell the story, but then you struggle in the storytelling and something would not just be right about the story that you are telling. So I think that was a recap of our last class. Then we also spoke how different brands use these stories about colors. That is how different brands actually use the informations or the emotions that different colors convey to tell the message of their brand, which is the first assignment you guys were given. So actually identify 10 brands and then tell us the different emotions or the different messages that they convey to their audience with their brand colors. So now we're going to be diving deeper into colors in relation to photography and videography. So basically, when you look at photography and videography, photography evolved from a time when we had just black and white. That is when we only had pictures done in black and white. This was done, I think it was with films, and then before you know it, there was an evolving of the whole process and the whole technology around the camera, and then we were now able to have colored pictures or cameras that could produce colored images. The question I want to ask you is that before the invention of the camera that could actually tell different colors and could actually show different colors, was it possible for you to tell that an outfit had a particular color, even if it was in black and white?
That's just look at the camera.
The photograph, that is the black and white photograph.
No.
The original it has from the picture requires.
What if I said yes?
From your perspective, you saying yes. And the reason why I can say yes is because originally those elements have color. But when it's been taken the photograph that just gives black and white color. So seeing it from the picture side, just okay. General color is just black and white.
Okay, why I said no is because if apart from an expert that could tell a black and white that okay, from the different shades that okay, this can be a certain color. If you give a layman, they can't tell if that's color or not, because seeing it, you won't be able to pinpoint an exact color from it. That this color is this color. You just see it's black, white, and different shades of black or white.
Okay, I'm answering from a person that does not know the original color. Like you're seeing a picture that is black and white. you can't tell if there's colors. And if there's color, you can't tell what and what color is there. What you're saying is black and white. For me, because if you're somebody that knows the the behind scene, know what happened before, you can say, okay, I know that there's black and white. But looking at the picture without knowing anything that happened before, you can't say there's color. You can see black and white. And even if you want to say there's color, you don't know what color that is turned to black and white. So you can't even say there's color, or is this color, is that color? You can only say it's black and white. Is that what you're saying?
So basically, the reason why I would say yes is because when you look at an image, take for instance, you take a colored image and then you turn it into black and white. How you would be able to know that this picture was not originally shot in black and white is that you would see that there are different shades of the black and white, which you mentioned. You understand? If they were originally wearing white and black, and then everywhere around them was white and black, you understand? You would discover that different shades of black and white would not be a wide spectrum. Now, this is where I'm coming from. If you put all the colors, white, yellow, green, blue, colored pink, magenta, all of these colors, and you put all of them together in one single palette, if you turn everything to black and white, I hope you know you will not have the same black and white.
Different shades.
You will have different shades of black and white.
Yes.
So the easiest way for you to actually pinpoint and know that the people were actually not on black and white and the scene was not actually black and white is by the wide spectrum of different shades that you have. That was just my question. Now, my question was not you trying to tell the different colors now, because it's impossible for you to tell the different colors because they are already in black and white. But what I'm saying now is that, can you tell an image that was not black and white? Take for instance, now somebody was wearing a green outfit and it was turned into a black and white. I hope you know it's not the same as if the person was wearing a black or white outfit and then it was changed into black and white. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yes.
So basically, colored pictures changed a lot. The reason why colored pictures changed a lot is because if we say colors actually interpret different emotions, if we say different colors actually pass different messages, that means the absence of these colors now meant the reduction in the degree to which that message can be passed. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if we say colors actually pass different emotions and messages, and in times of old when we did not have the luxury of having cameras that could capture different colors, so that means you had to manually tell your stories and you had to look for other means to aid storytelling. So that means you did not have the advantage of color. So now what I want you to understand is that colors in photography and videography is actually an added advantage that will aid you in your storytelling. Now the question, if as at now there is no color for you to shoot with, or there's no colored camera for you to actually capture an image with, would you still be able to tell the story that you would have told with colors? Because if you look at the times of old, you will discover that photographers of old, they leveraged more on other techniques of photography and videography in telling different stories. Take for instance, in the times of old, photographers actually leveraged more on framing. They leveraged more on perspective. They leveraged more on different types of composition. For a story to be told appropriately, you will discover that a certain angle must be gotten. That is, if a story was to be told of this class now, and it was not in colored, there's a certain perspective that you can tell the story and you'll tell it wrong. Take for instance, maybe if you did not know that this was a class at all, for you to actually know that I was the one that was talking and it was not you guys talking to me, I hope you know there's a certain angle. Only use that angle to tell the story. And if you use another angle to tell the story, it will almost seem as though I am the one that is a student and then you guys are the one that is actually lecturing me, or you guys are the one that is actually telling me. Now, what are the other scenarios that can happen or that can play out if we were to depict the story of what is going on here? It can be that if somebody takes a picture from behind you guys to me, it can be that somebody would see that picture and read it to seem as though maybe you guys were having a meeting to discuss something that you were not pleased with to me. So you guys came together to talk to me about something that you guys, maybe a concern that you guys had about me or about something. Do you understand what I'm saying? But if the angle was taken from behind me to you guys, with my hand gesticulating towards you guys, I hope you know you've been able to tell that I was the one that was speaking to you. So what I'm actually trying to say is that photography before now had to do with more of aiding your storytelling through framing, perspective, and other means. Take for instance, if you were to tell the difference between a Native American and a white person from London who had maybe a Scottish person that had very pale skin. So how would you tell the difference between those two people? Because it's actually white and black. And then the shade is not so different from each other. Do you understand what I'm saying? So telling stories before now, it had to do with more of the technical aspect of photography. So now having colors now in play, you now have an added advantage where you can now tell different emotions. Take for instance, if you wanted to tell the story of a gender reveal before now, how would you tell the story of a gender reveal? I mean, before the colored cameras, if you were to tell the story of a gender reveal, how would you tell the story? That means you had to look for extra elements to add to your stories. Take for instance, maybe you could use the shape of a boy, you understand, on a placard or something. Do you understand? Maybe you could use the outfit of a boy. Do you understand? Maybe you could use something, but then you had to just use something that would signify that it is a boy and not a girl. But now, with the advantage of having like a camera that can capture colors, you can just easily use the colors pink and blue to tell the story of a gender reveal. Now, the point I'm trying to drive at is that now having this advantage, it has now made a lot of photographers and videographers to actually relax on the technical aspect of photography and videography. That is, we base our ideas on the fact, or we base our creativity on the fact that we can leverage on the use of colors to tell stories, rather than using perspectives, techniques, and then using the advantages that we have. So now what you see everywhere now is that we have like pictures that are very colorful and have different colors attached to them, which is not bad. There's nothing wrong with that. But then we have a rising decline in the use or in the need for the use of several technical aspects of photography, that is like framing, perspectives, composition, and the rest. So you will discover that photographers of old could easily pass as better storytellers because they understood the telling of stories through the use of these cameras that didn't have colors, and then they were able to leverage on the fact that they would use their skills in composition, framing, perspectives, and the different techniques that you could use in photography and videography to achieve their storytelling. But then they could do this without colors. Now imagine adding colors to that as an added advantage. Now what will you now have as a photographer if you now had this skill that these old-time photographers had and videographers had, and then you were able to add colors as an added advantage on that? You will discover that you would be miles ahead. Do you understand my point? But then, if we now relax on the fact that we now have the leverage of colors, take for instance, what is happening now is that you will discover that a collaboration will be put together, and all you're looking for as a photographer or a videographer is to use someone that is probably a fair-looking model, that is very catchy to the eyes, you understand, maybe a light-skinned model. And then the next thing that you're looking for is a makeup artist that can do a very dramatic makeup. Anything wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that. And then you're looking for an outfit that will pop, an outfit that has like a very bright color. Now, all of these things are not wrong. The next thing you're looking for in that particular collaboration that you're actually planning is to look for a scene that is very colorful. Anything wrong with that? But the problem now is that we have now limited our use of the different photography techniques. Now all we have is just a very colorful image that has colors that are very well put together, or maybe not put together very well, and you just have a very colorful image that is catchy. And you will discover that in this day and age, that is what is selling. Everybody's pushing out what has that vibrant color, like that color that would capture the attention of people and all. But then what we now fail to understand is that there's a rising decline in our use for the different photography techniques. We are not striving to increase our knowledge bank. All we are just trying to do is just meet up to the latest trend. In recent times, what are the most popular colors that we've had now in the creative industry? We've had steel blue, we've had beige, we've had brown. Am I lying? We've had this mint green, we've had pale yellow, we've had orange. also. So we've had all of these colors, and no, there's absolutely nothing wrong with these colors. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing. I also use these colors. For a second, take your mind away from these colors and ask yourself that as a photographer that is currently trending now with all of those pictures, if something were to happen and you were to enter into a competition that you could only use black and white, would you be able to produce results? Would you still be able to tell stories with your art, or would you be stranded? Because I've heard photographers that have said that I can't do black and white, and I think it's actually a problem. Because if you are now faced, like maybe if you are faced with maybe you get to a particular point where, or you are hired for a job, and then the only prerequisite for you to actually land that job is for you to shoot the entire project on black and white, what would you do? So if I were to tell the story of Coke or Coca-Cola, and I was meant to tell that story just with black and white, would I still be able to tell the story of Coca-Cola? And would people be able to get the message that it was Coca-Cola I was pushing or trying to tell their story? So it now makes you understand that there is colors, which is an added advantage, but then there was something that was there before colors came into being. If you add these techniques that we've spoken about, the framing, perspective, composition, and the other techniques, and you add colors to all of these techniques, you will discover that you would be miles ahead of a lot of people in this generation. I hope you know it was not just framing, perspective, and composition that photographers and videographers of old actually used. The creative mind was more at work, because you discover that these creative minds could actually just ideate and just think about the best possible way to tell different stories, because they did not have the luxury of colors to use. So you discover they could push themselves more. But now what you discover is that there are certain people in the creative industry that cannot function without colors. So if you look at the likes of, there's this photographer that is one of my favorite photographers, I think it's Alan, is this Scala or something. His works are very good and they are quite intentional. Now another point or another part of colors that is actually a drawback to photography and videography is the fact that we've not been able to bring ourselves to a point of noticing the little details. Because an image is colorful and it has different colors that distracts our mind, now we're not able to pay attention to the little details. That is, if you were to take a particular image and the subject had to stand at a particular point, just because you had the distraction of colors, now you are more focused on the different color combinations, you are more focused on the different color palettes in your scene, and then you cannot actively position your subject at the right place where your subject is meant to be. That is why you discover that most of these old-time photographers always say something, that storytelling was better back in the day than it is now. Now, how can we actually use colors to our advantage? Because color is more of an advantage to us in this new day and age. How can we now use colors to our advantage as photographers and videographers? The first step is actually knowing that colors is an added advantage. At this point, you will see that understanding that there were different techniques of photography and videography that existed before colors existed will make you understand that in the sequence of creativity, color doesn't come first. In the sequence of creativity, that is, if you are counting on how you create, or if you are looking at how to create a particular art, colors don't come first. You first have to understand that in creating any type of art whatsoever, first of all, you understand what you want to create. Next thing that you would do is you now have to bring yourself to a point of telling yourself that colors actually will come later. First of all, the story I want to tell, how can I best frame this story? How can I best put the elements together first? How can I best put my subject and my environment together that will not make my environment conspicuous? Do you understand? That will not make the environment to overshadow my subject. So if you now bring yourself to that point where you tell yourself that colors doesn't even come first, it doesn't come second, it will now bring you to a point where you now tell yourself that this particular art that I want to create has to first come together first. So I have to first figure out the kind of story I want to tell. Now I have to identify the different kind of framing techniques that I can use to tell this story that will best aid my storytelling. And then I can now understand the different perspective to which I can tell this particular story. Then before you now introduce the need for colors, so how can color now add to this? Let me tell you something. So think about it this way. Take for instance, if you were to photograph a wedding, And then for that particular wedding, all you just had to do was photograph the entire wedding with just a film camera that is black and white. Now, think about it. If you removed colors out of all of those things, and you were not thinking about colors, would that help you focus more on the little details or not? Now, you're not distracted by any colors. Take for instance, if everywhere was black and white, I hope you know you will listen to me more. I mean, this room where we are, if every single thing here, including what I'm wearing, was black and white, I hope you know you will listen to me more. Why? Because you will be less distracted. So colors is an added advantage, but colors can also be a disadvantage. Colors can be your greatest distraction as a photographer and a videographer. So what's the first point? The first point is understand the sequence of creativity and know that color doesn't come first in creativity. Understand that colors come much later. After you have fully deciphered the kind of story you want to tell, you have figured out the kind of framing that will best tell that story, the perspective that would aid in your storytelling, and then you can now discuss colors. In fact, light even comes before color. Right?
Yes.
Light even comes before colors, because you have to first figure out the best light setup that will work for whatever you want to create, then colors. Now, the next point in how you can use colors to your advantage is now to understand the different kinds of colors. When we say understand the different kinds of colors, then you now know that there are complementary colors. You first know that there are primary colors and then there are secondary colors. When we talk about primary colors, we know the RGB, that is red, blue, green, right?
Yes.
Then we now understand secondary colors. Secondary colors are a combination of each of these colors. Then we know neutral colors. What are neutral colors? White and black. So out of white and black, you get all of the other neutral colors, right? Then we'll now talk about complementary colors. When we talk about complementary colors, these are colors that go together. So after now, there's one thing I want you to always note before you create, and I want you to look at me. When you look at a scene and your subject and what you want to create, ask yourself one question. The colors in my frame, is it adding to the image or to the video I want to make and the story I want to tell, or is it taking away from it? Because if the colors in your scene is not adding to the story you want to tell, best believe that it's taking something away. Because why? It's either going to be an advantage or a distraction to whoever is going to watch or look at that particular image and get the story you want to tell. So ask yourself this question. For every single time you hold your camera, before you even tell yourself that, okay, you want to do anything or you want to move the bride to a certain place if you're a wedding photographer, ask yourself, this particular color here, is it adding to my image or is it taking away from my image? When you answer this question, you will then know and understand that the different colors in your scene plays different roles, and if it's not adding to your scene, what do? You remove. That's why you discover that for every single time that you guys have seen me shot, like maybe we're shooting a wedding and then we're shooting at a hotel, the first thing that is always coming to my mind is that for the color of the outfit that the couple are wearing, what is the best part of the location that I can actually shoot that couple as a wedding photographer? What is the place I can place them? What is the part of the location that I can place them, that the colors of that location or that particular area is going to now overshadow the couple? I hope you know it's possible. So take for instance, they are wearing a very neutral color, maybe say beige and brown, and you now take them to a place that has bright yellow or lemon green. Is lemon green bad? There's a way to use lemon green, right? But then, for that particular image you want to get, you will discover that the colors will stand out more than your subject. And for a wedding, that is not what you want. You don't want your subject to be all swallowed up in the colors that is present within your background or within your environment or your scene. So it is very important for you to ask yourself this particular question. These colors in my frame right now, is it adding or is it taking away? If it's not adding, that means it's taking away. Now, what do? Instead of you allowing that to be a drawback to your image and your storytelling, you then start taking away and stripping away. Take for instance, if a couple comes in today as a wedding photographer and they want to have a pre-wedding session or an engagement session, and then they come in dressed in a red outfit and you want to use a particular background, and then maybe you just discover that the groom has maybe an accessory that is, which color doesn't go with red? Maybe let's use lemon green again. These are two very bold colors. So now if you put these colors together, do they work? What do you now do? You then find a way to make that particular color, that lemon green or the least dominant color, you then find a way to take it out. or move the couple out of that environment that has that color that doesn't work. So take for instance, if the groom had a brooch that is lemon green and he's wearing a red outfit, for instance, what is the best thing to do as a photographer or a videographer? The best thing to do is kindly ask the groom, do we have a replacement for this brooch? Do we have something that can replace this particular accessory so that it can best complement what you're wearing? It can best complement the story you are trying to tell. In the event that there's no other accessory that you can use to replace that, what do you now do? You find a way to conceal to the best of your ability that particular accessory that is taking. You've seen it done a lot of times, right? Where I'll just say, okay, I don't like this particular part of the outfit, so I'm going to place the bride at a particular point in front of the groom that is now going to block that accessory that is taking, that the color is taking away from my subject. Do you understand what I'm saying? So take for instance, if there was a brooch on the side of his shirt that did not go, or that does not work with the general color of the outfit, what do? I just move the bride a bit to the side of the groom, to a point where the bride is now blocking that accessory that is not complementing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. So that is what you need to do as a photographer and a videographer. So when you look at a particular scene, the first thing you should ask yourself, does this scene even work as it is? What are the things that are on the scene that doesn't work? What are the drawbacks? What are the things I can add? What are the things I can remove? Do you understand? So what's the first point?
The sequence of creativity, colors don't come first.
Colors don't come in the sequence of creativity. Colors don't come first. What's the second point?
Understanding the different kinds of color, the primary color and the
primary color, secondary color, complementary color, neutral colors, right? The next point is simple, but it's not common knowledge to everybody. Now, put the colors you want in your final output or your final image or video in the scene or on your subject while shooting. This is very simple, but you think this is common knowledge. Put the colors you want in your final output, that is your photo, your video, put it in your scene or on your subject. Now, let me explain what I mean by this. Put the colors you want to see in your final output, that is your photo, your video, put it in your scene or on your subject. In brackets, intentionality with colors. After writing, I want you guys to listen. As important as color is, color can be what will destroy a particular piece of art. Do you understand? Colors can be what will destroy a piece of art if you're not careful. Now, when we talk about this point now is put whatever color you want in your final output, that is your photograph, your video, put it in your scene or on your subject. In brackets, intentionality with colors. Now, when we talk about intentionality with colors, this means you are paying attention. What's the last point? We said understand colors. Now, intentionality with colors is now you actively putting the colors you want to see in your final production or in your final output, putting it on the scene or on your subject. Now, let me tell you the mistake that a lot of photographers and videographers actually make is they actually put different colors on their scene, or colors, they are not intentional with their colors when shooting, and then when they are color grading, they try now to make that colors or to change the colors to match up with what they want for their final output, instead of just making sure that your colors are right from the get-go, that you put the colors that will tell the emotion. Now, if I want to tell the story of a girly girl, now what am I doing? I'm going to find a way to infuse very bright colors, yellow, pink, purple, sky blue. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm going to infuse all of these colors in telling the story of a girly girl. If I want to tell the story of maybe a clown movie, a funny movie that has clowns everywhere, I have to put red there, I have to put yellow there. Do you understand what I'm saying? But now, what we find now is that a lot of creatives are actually not intentional with their colors, to the point where they are done shooting and they just shoot. And then immediately after the session, when it's time for post-production, then they are now trying to now make the colors that were not there on the scene and now change the colors. Take for instance, you have brown, you're trying to change brown to red, you're trying to change blue to teal, you're trying to change Do you understand what I'm saying? You're trying to change all of these colors, and trust me, that is what color grading is for. There's nothing wrong with that. But then the problem now is that if you're changing the colors of certain elements in your scene, you're not just changing it independently. It may generally affect the entire image. And trust me, for the most part, you may not get the desired shade of color you want. You may just have to settle for what the closest that you can get. So intentionality with colors is actually important. The point I'm driving at is that when you want to see blue on your scene,
Okay.
make sure that that blue element is present in your scene.
Okay.
It can either be in the outfit that your model is going to wear. It can be in you actually just moving your model to a spot within the location that has color blue. I hope you know you don't have control over every single thing. Take for instance, you don't have control over the color, the ambient color of the streets. But what can I do in a situation where I actually want to shoot a model on a red outfit and I need a blue backdrop? What can I do? The responsibility is now mine to take that model to a spot where I will now get a background that is blue. Take for instance, if there's no background that is blue, what can I do? I will just have to take her to a point that is high enough that I can use the sky that is blue to be my background. Now I can shoot with a perspective that now shows, if I shoot from a lower perspective, I can now get the blue sky as my backdrop. But then what we now try to do is that we'll just shoot it like that and hope to change something, or hope to color a gray surface or a gray background into making it blue, into making it sky blue. And what you now discover is that what you're now doing, you're now tampering with colors that will now tamper with, like maybe the skin tone or something. Do you understand? Or different elements within your scene. But what I'm saying now is that actually be intentional with your colors. So even in the instances where you are dealing with fixed factors like environments or scenes that are fixed, that you cannot change anything about it, even your perspective and your framing can help you in deciding the colors that will be in your frame. That is, you can choose the different colors that will be in your frame, and you can choose the ones that will not be in your frame. So we're talking about red outfits that we want to shoot on a blue backdrop. You understand? So if there's a wall that is lemon green and the wall is just beside, like on the high elevation, you remember we spoke about, you will take the bride a plane that has a high elevation outdoors, and then you shoot her against the sky. Or if you cannot have that plane, you shoot from a lower perspective so that you can get the sky as your backdrop, right? But if now you now have maybe something like a street sign or a billboard that has a very bright green on it that doesn't work with what you want to create, what is now the thing for you to do is just for you to move your subject away from that particular thing, because what? That is a distraction to your scene. That is what we call intentionality. You are now being intentional about the colors that you are including into your frame, and you are shooting that particular frame to contain only the colors that you want. So in the event that you now have some certain colors that you could not avoid by all means, that means you are keeping those colors that are a distraction to the barest minimum. What does that now mean? It means shorter post-production time. It means less stress when having your post-production. That is, when you're having your post-production, you're no longer thinking about what you could change when shooting. You're just only focused on enhancing your storytelling through color grading. So if you understand this, you will discover that you will take away almost 90% of these problems that photographers and videographers run into now. That's why you discover that on a movie scene, you discover that you have people who their main job is just colors.
Yes.
You will discover that when you're dealing with post-production, that you have colorists, that's just their job. They don't cut, they don't join, they don't do anything. They don't do anything as part of post-production. The only thing that they are focused on is colors. That is to show you how important colors are. And trust me, these people are paid a fortune.
Yes.
So if you can understand this, you struggle less. Most of the problems that you have when creating, you discover that those problems are no longer there. Do you understand my point? So it is important for you to actually tell yourself that from now henceforth, I actually want to be intentional about the colors that I include in my frame. And how do you do this? This is not done on the day you want to shoot. It is by conditioning your mind to always think colors. That is, whenever you step into a scene, you are first asking yourself, when I say a scene now, whenever you step out, maybe you drive to a mall or something, or you drive to an eatery, the first thing you are asking yourself, in this whole scene, what is a distraction in this scene as a color? And what is adding to the story of this scene? This is not something that just happens once. It's not just a button. You don't just start and you just say, oh no, like I understand like colors. I'm all good with colors. After this class now, I know colors. That's not what it is. But then it's to condition your mind and tell yourself that for every single time I step into a particular environment, I am going to be conscious of the colors I see. For every single time that I watch a movie, I'm going to be very intentional with the colors I see in that movie. And I'm going to ask myself, why was this color added to the scene? What was the thought process of the person that added this color to the scene? Is this color in this particular movie scene, is it adding to the scene or is it taking away? Now, if the particular color is taking away from that scene, as a person, which color would I put in that particular scene that will better tell that story other than the present color in that particular movie scene? So if you tell yourself this, you solve a lot of problems for yourself. So if you're able to condition your mind to actually see colors, that's why whenever I watch a movie, I'm always a pain in the ass of the people around me. Like, the first thing I'm always saying, I'm always shouting about colors. It happened. The last movie I don't watch movies a lot, but then the last movie I watched in cinema, and the person that went, for every scene I was, can you see this color? And the person is not a photographer. I was like, can you see this? The person could not understand what I was saying. But I've brought myself to that particular point of actually conditioning my mind to always think colors. So when I see a color like this, I'm just asking, this color is so nice. I think for people who have gone with me to different locations or to different places that we were not even shooting, you will discover that I just used to randomly say, if you see this background, if I just have this model that will just wear these clothes, this particular red clothes or blue clothes. So this one now. If I can just have this particular model that will just wear this blue clothes or this red clothes, it will be perfect for this scene. I don't know if anybody has heard me say that before, because I always say that whenever I step into any scene at all. So even when I even step into a place, take for instance, I walk into church and I see a lady wearing a particular dress that is a particular color, the first thing my mind is already thinking about is, if I were to shoot this lady, what colors will I add to these colors that is as bad as that or is as good as that? Do you understand? So you have to bring your place to a consciousness of color, that you tell yourself that wherever I step into, I'm going to notice colors. So after a while, what would you now discover when you are shooting? You will discover that colors now come easily to you, that you are now seeing colors in a different dimension. You will now discover that you can easily put colors together and it will work. Because why? You have dwelt so much on this color thing that you have now become one with it. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you are able to bring yourself to this point, you will discover that you struggle less. And I know a lot of photographers that are very good with this. Maybe not a lot. I know some photographers that are very good with this, that immediately they just see an outfit, their mind is already, like, there's already a spinning machine that is already in their mind that just goes and just clicks, and they'll just tell you that, okay, for this particular pink dress, we are going to use an onion color background and it will work. For this particular pink dress, we're going to use this shade of green. I hope you know some people have understood color to the point where they have understood all of the colors, and then they are now they've even understood the different shades of each color. So they will tell you that if you use this particular type of green, yes, green and pink works, but not all shades of green works with all shades of pink. So you need to know the shade of pink that works with the shade of green. Do you understand my point?
Yes, sir.
If you understand it, you have solved the problem of colors, right?
Yes.
Now, the last step is post-production, color grade. You see how color grade came last? We already spoke about different ways to use colors to your advantage, but color grade came last. The reason why color grade came last is because that is just the icing on the cake. Color grade is just something you just add to just finish up the work. If you are creating and then your color grade makes up the entire thing you are doing, I don't think you're doing it well. I don't think you understand colors properly. Do you understand? When color grade is like the alpha and the omega, like that is the beginning, the end of everything you're creating, I don't think that is the right way to go. So you have to bring yourself to a point where you understand that color grade is just the icing on the cake. The color grade is different from color correction. Now, color grade is divided into, first of all, color correction, and then you have color grading. Let's just say color work now is divided into color correction, and then color grading. What is color correction? Color correction is you actually correcting or bringing a color back to its original form. That is, you are correcting it back to the form of what it was or what it looks like as at when you were shooting it. Then color correction is actually bringing a color back to the original form that he had, or the original shade of color that it was as at the point of you shooting it. Then what is color grading? Color grading is actually using colors to enhance your production. In color grading, this is when you now use the tool of color to best position your story. If you're shooting a movie and you wanted to tell the story of a horror movie, you then know that you have to use a dark theme. You then know that your colors have to be toned down, but then you have to do all your color work so that your colors is not so bright. Darker shades of each color. And then if you're shooting for like maybe a high school movie or something, then you know to use brighter shades of those colors. Do you understand? So that is what color correction and that's what color grading is. They are both not the same thing. In the sequence of how it's meant to happen, color correction comes first before color grading. So because you have to actually bring a color back to the normal or the original color that it was as at the point of shooting before you now even choose to add any more colors. So you don't first color grade and then you're now trying to color correct. You are color correcting first before you're now color grading. The reason why we're color correcting is because these cameras, as good as they are, not all of them and not all lenses have accurate colors, but we've not achieved that yet. So you have to bring yourself to a point where you can actually correct those colors. So you have to even know the colors as what they were as at when you were shooting it. Yes. To be able to correct it back to what it was. To be able to correct it back to the original color before you now color grade. Yes. Do we understand? That brings us to the end of this particular class. So thank you so much for staying to the end. If you would like to be a part of Belac Academy, please hit the link in the description below to register. Also, if you want to support us, you can click the subscribe button. Also, like this video, share with someone so someone else will learn from this particular video. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.